Hello, Ruth. Good to meet you. Uh, Thank you
Hi,
for joining
Emma.
me.
Thank you very much for your work that's led by God and for your faithfulness.
Thank you.
I feel honored to have an opportunity to speak with you today.
Well, let's get to know each other a bit better then. I'm looking forward to hearing your story. So, can we start at the beginning then? How long ago did you become a Quaker and what were you seeking and what did you find?
So I first came to Quakers in the Midlands in 2004, part of Central England Quakers. Uh, I went to Warwick Quaker meeting, September 2004.
Why? What were you seeking?
Okay, so I've been seeking all my life. So my journey started before 2004.
Hmm.
So, shall I give you a brief rundown?
Yes, please. That would be great.
Okay. Okay, I was born in Spain. I have a Spanish father who's vehemently atheist and misogynistic,
Hmm.
and a mother who's got a strong Christian faith, and three brothers. And we came to England when I was 6 years old. And I didn't realize, but there was neglect and emotional abuse in my family. Um, but there is love as well.
Hmm.
I was a Christian. I went to church with my mum. I went to Stratford Baptist. I went to a village Methodist church. When I was a sort of between 8 and maybe 13, I went to Christian camps, which were happy clappy. And I was baptized when I was about 13 at Stratford Baptist Church. Then I went off the rails in a massive way, and I sought. Uh, I wasn't a Christian, and a spring forwards to um, I spent I spent a gap year in America as an au pair, and then 3 years at university. After university, I um, did some traveling, went to Japan for a couple of years teaching English. And then I traveled India, Nepal, Thailand, and Laos. And I went to a lot of Buddhist retreats and I became a Buddhist. My last 3 months was spent at a Theravada Buddhist monastery in Thailand. And I donated a large portion of my remaining money to that monastery because I felt so grateful. And I cut my journey short and I came back to the UK with the intention to visit a monastery in the UK of this lineage. It's the forest tradition. And I ended up staying in the monastery 5 years and I became a novice, training for me, under Ajahn Sumedho, who's an American abbot, who was the abbot of Amaravati Buddhist Monastery. And I also trained under Ajahn Sucitto, who was the abbot then of Chithurst Buddhist Monastery. And I spent just under 3 years as a novice with a shaved head and robes. And I'm very grateful for that time. That brings me to 2004, when, because of the underlying issues that I wasn't aware of in my life,
Hmm.
and lots of us have things that we don't know, that come to the surface when we feel safe enough. I left the monastery. It was like in some ways coming out of prison, perhaps, because, I didn't have any belongings. I hadn't had much communication with the outside world. I came back to where my family live in Warwickshire, and I knew I needed a community, and somebody had suggested Quakers.
Mm.
So I actually went to Warwick meeting to set up the Buddhist, the meditators support group. So it was actually to rent a room
Mm.
at Warwick meeting, which I did. I rented a small room and we met once a week for at least a year or 2 years. The day I went to worship, I loved it. And so I stayed and I became a member in 2015. And I became a Christian again in 2014. And recently I have transferred my membership because I live closer to another Quaker meeting in Warwickshire now.
Mhm. Well, that all sounds fascinating. Can I ask you a bit more about your first experiences of Quaker meeting then? You say you loved it. So tell us about that.
So what I was used to doing was practicing my breathing.
Mm.
So for 5 years, my practice was called anapanasati, effectively breathing in and breathing out. People either do it at the nostrils or the abdomen. So I did it at my nostrils, and I still do that a lot, but not as much as I used to do it. So when I came to other people to use other objects for meditation in Buddhist traditions, and other people at my monasteries used body meditation, which I wasn't attracted to because I was dissociating a lot,
Ah, mm,
is what I've learned more recently.
mm,
So you don't want to be in your body, but breath was very soothing for me. So at Warwick meeting, I would breathe in and out, and I would be doing this on my own. And Warwick friends were really like, it was like I was a separate unit, you
okay.
know. At Amravati and Chithurst, I used to feel lonely because it was a loving community, but we had a lot of free time and I did my practice and I spent 3 months not talking, and I used to spend a lot of time in nature. So when I came to Warwick meeting, um, some of the elders or friends ran some workshops. And just there were opportunities. And at some point, somebody said, when we worship, we do this thing together. It's not just me doing my practice.
Mm,
There's something that happens with all of us in one room in a circle, or it also works online. So that was very different experience, and I felt it. I felt it. I felt the worship quality of the worship
mm,
was communal. And so that was a really big change in my practice.
mm. Yeah, there's something, um, it's the community, isn't it? It's getting to know each other and to go to some quite deep places, but with other people. It builds a lot of trust, doesn't it, actually?
We had a lot of covered meetings. So now I'm a Christian, I can say, like in the Psalms, God can be like a mother hen.
Mm,
And in the Psalms, there's one passage about, that nestling down on you, like you're the baby chick. And the covered meeting for me was like that feeling. It was like God was coming down, and it was very, it was love. Um, when I came off the rails, I did drugs and things, and I had experiences of love through, ingesting drugs. And it 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 was it was like that, but it was very restful. It's very restful. It's there doesn't need to be any words when it's covered, and there's just a harmony and a peace, a serenity, exactly like God's nestling down and nurturing you
Mm,
and feeding you, and we call it communion. It's our communion.
mm.
Other churches have that experience in different ways, and other traditions have that experience in different ways.
Yeah. I wondered, you said you've traveled a lot, and of course, Buddhism itself is if you like, um, do you mind me calling it a foreign tradition? You know, it's a tradition that's been created on the other side of the world, in my view. Um, and I love it. I've got no problem with it. But there's something to me which is when you talk about it's a British culture thing, and coming to Quaker meeting feels very familiar to us. And that's my experience. And I explored Buddhist not to the same degree you did. I mean, I'm talking about I read a few books, Um, but I felt I was looking for something familiar and homely and something that was deeply part of my own culture. And I think that's what I found in Quakers. Is that similar for you?
Um, well, I think I should move on with my story,
Okay.
really. Is
Okay.
that okay? So, in 2014, I actually had a mental health breakdown. And during that breakdown, it went on for 7 days. Um, um, I was in a lot of fear. I had I hadn't realized, but in the monastery, I'd become aware of a pain within in my heart. It was like an Edvard Munch scream, like a
Mm,
silent scream.
mm,
Um, and I'd gone for some help to somebody, and they'd said, "You're not ready yet to understand this, but when the time's right, you'll come to understand." And when I had the breakdown, the trauma was the belief I had as as a Baptist child, which was that the world was coming to an end.
mm,
And as a child, that's quite a scary thing. Um, and when the world comes to an end, um, Jesus is coming to take up all the safe people. And I was 100% sure that I wasn't good enough. And that was because of the neglect and emotional abuse in my childhood. So I had this vision that I would stay on planet Earth. Because once Jesus took all the people up, those that would be left would be, well, the demons and devils would be unleashed on planet Earth, and they would try to stamp people with 666 on their foreheads. And those that did not submit would get a second chance. And as a child, I packed my toothbrush and Bible, as since I was going to be staying behind because I was not good enough, I would try and preach to those left behind. And the kind of images I thought were like people would be on electric chairs, they'd have their toenails and nails ripped off. They'd be, really horrible, like in these awful paintings of hell realms.
mm.
I hadn't realized how traumatic that was for me. And during the breakdown, it repeated, it was coming out. Everything was coming out. And there were other places in my life where that trauma had been lived out. But after the breakdown, it was gone.
Right.
And in the middle of the breakdown, I was not sleeping. I hadn't been sleeping for 6 months. I took a hot bath. I I felt the need to baptize myself again 3 times. So I immersed my full body in the water. And then as I came out of the bath and I was in the landing, I felt a tremendous peace, the still small voice. And I looked down on the landing and it was a wet footprint. And I was fully aware it was my wet footprint. It wasn't that I thought it was somebody was there because I knew it was me and my
Mm.
foot was wet.
Mm.
But I felt Jesus carrying me in that moment. Um, and that's when I became a Christian,
Okay.
because of that experience with the still small voice, which was, it wasn't that I saw Jesus, it wasn't visual, it was a felt sense in that moment. I didn't sleep that night, but I felt at peace from the anguish I'd been in. And on the Monday, I saw the GP and she provided me with sleeping tablets and medication, and I recovered quickly from that experience, and continue to recover.
Mm.
I'm still consider myself to be in recovery.
Yeah. So that was, you described it as a mental health breakdown, but actually it was a religious experience as well.
Yes, it was a religious experience. Some people might say it wasn't a mental health breakdown,
Mm.
but I did have some paranoia and hallucination. So I think it was both.
Mm. Yeah. So coming to Christianity then was from a place where the Christianity of your childhood was really quite a damaging experience in part. Was there aspects of that childhood experience which were very loving in terms of Christianity, in terms of the church environment? Or have you left that all behind? Is it a completely new experience now within the Quaker meeting?
Um, I think that there was many loving experiences within the churches of my childhood, both at the Baptists and the Methodists, and even at the Christian camps. But I think what was happening in my home environment was difficult,
Mm.
and the view of the Baptists that I took in as an innocent child was what was the damaging thing.
Yeah,
And it was partly because there were leaflets in my home and I read them avidly
right.
about things like witches and just the signs for the end of the world and this
Mm.
sort of thing. So it was more because I had access to these things.
Yeah. Which, of course, are
Um,
not present in Quaker meetings. So you're not going to read those kinds of things in a Quaker meeting, are you? I'm wondering if you can tell us a bit about what is your Christianity now? How do you describe it within the context of Quaker meeting?
yeah. I actually worship with a higher conservative friends a lot. Um, when I say a lot, I mean I've requested affiliate membership. Um, I'm a member in Britain Yearly Meeting, and um, I feel led by God to stay a member of Britain Yearly Meeting because I think God wants me to work within Britain Yearly Meeting. Um, so after the breakdown, I had many experiences with God and Jesus, and I shared them with my meeting. They were incredibly loving, and they paid for me to do equipping for ministry at Woodbrook.
Oh, yeah.
And there I learned lots of things about the Quaker tradition. The staff were amazing, the furs, friends in residence, the atmosphere, the gardens, also Cadbury, um, the ancestors. But I was feeling that I was being asked to be a minister, and it wasn't something that there was a language for within Britain Yearly Meeting. And there's a lot of love in Warwick Meeting, and I'm so grateful. And I'm going there at the end of the month because in my current job, we're going to be renting a space. So I have so much love and gratitude. All my teachers, and I prayed to be teachable. But I had to leave Warwick, to grow, and it was very, very painful because there was so much love.
Mm.
Um, I found it painful because somebody said, we don't have ministers anymore. And I said, how would you feel if somebody said to you, we don't have any GPs anymore? How would you feel? And that's how it felt. Or whatever your vocation is, how would it feel if somebody said to you, we don't have any of those anymore? So I tried to go to different churches, and some friends helped me, and I was in a lot of grief, and I had experience of Jesus coming to me in the dark, in the middle of the night, a lot. Very, very intimate comfort. Um, and I was led, because of the pandemic in 2020, to travel to the USA on Zoom and connected with the higher friends.
Okay.
So it's like I felt like God's provided everything that I need. And somebody at Ohio said, this is not an accident. And yes, we can train you. It's like when you train a baby elephant,
What does that
it's
mean?
like a hoot. So it's through worship. At a higher friends, we're all singing with the same belief system. So the depth of the worship, there is a lot. I think I should share about a recent worship, maybe, because to explain how deep it is.
Okay.
Um, so recently, there are many ministers in Ohio Yearly Meeting recognized with their tradition, and one of those ministered, and it was God speaking, and God said, "Come to me, come to the throne, open your heart, um, come into my arms." Um, so a very intimate experience with God,
Mm.
spoken through somebody, a human being, but that was God speaking. That was ministry direct from God in that meeting. I had experiences like that before on my own in the darkness of the night, that intimacy, and just opening up my heart and opening up the doors and letting the love in. In the Bible, there are passages where because Jesus died for us, um, we don't need any formal rituals anymore. Because in the old tradition, there was a temple and a place that only certain priests could go. But after the death on the cross, anyone can go. So in a Quaker meeting, an experience like that is a direct opening
Mm.
to direct access to divine love. So in our tradition, we have other words for Jesus and God. We can say the seed, divine love, bright morning star, truth. So that experience I felt much more deeply amongst a higher friends. So I worship every Sunday. We have Bible study for an hour and then we have an hour of worship. I worship on a Monday, I worship on a Thursday night, and I do extended worship. Today I have extended worship. So that will be about 3 hours of worship later on today.
And that's all online, is it, with Ohio in the States?
So the extended worship today is with a group of friends who are started out 25 years ago. Um, some very well-known friends who've written books and work tirelessly for the nurture of world Quakers worship there. And recently we wrote an epistle to FWCC, and I was hopeful that it might be shared because we had a message for world our society, but I'm not sure if it's going to be shared. I haven't heard anything since we sent it because the tradition is normally that a yearly meeting sends letters, not a group that's not
Mm.
a yearly meeting body.
Would you like to share anything of that now? I mean, we can certainly post a link to the full epistle in here in this the description of this video if that's what you would like. But would you like to say anything? Tell me now what the message is, or does that not feel
I
appropriate?
can read it out, maybe. Would it? I could read it out, I think. I'd have to find it. Shall we have a bit of worship? And then I can be finding it. Uh, When we um when we feel called to minister, we say that we can feel our heart pounding, or we can feel the blood circulating around our bodies, or the
Yeah.
strong feelings. And I can feel that now. Um, but I don't know if I'm going to be able to access the document now. So,
Well, we can certainly. see the document later if that's what we feel is the right thing to do. Is there anything you want to say about the experience of writing that epistle and sending it out? Do you feel that the proper channels, if you like, through minutes of yearly meetings is something that you want to honor and restrain yourself by, which is fine, or do you feel that that you want to minister now in some way?
So we sent it on the celebration of George Fox's birthday to the secretary of FWCC. And this morning it took me an hour to get my computer up and running to be able to join you. I did fortunately have a phone,
Mhm.
but everything has been wiped off my computer.
Okay.
So I had to re-download Zoom. I think I need to buy a new computer at some point, but I think these things don't happen by accident.
No.
I've had a lot of obstacles, and um, so did early friends. So
Yes.
I will send you the epistle, Emma.
Okay.
I can't access it right now,
No.
but our request as a community, we testified to the power of extended worship. We testified to the movement of the Spirit when we wait patiently in an untimed way, and we ask that all meetings around the world, yearly meetings in George Fox's celebration year, could meet for extended worship. And personally, I would like to ask Britain Yearly Meeting to do such a thing at Yearly Meeting Gathering in 2025,
Mm.
because there is a lot of confusion in the world right now, and there's a lot of change happening. And one thing that I, this is not in the epistle, but I feel that we, over the next years, will have hundreds of heartfelt ministers. And so we need to be getting ready for that. Um, uh, so I'm being prepared at the moment, and I'm still going through my formation,
Mm.
and it's taken 10 years already from the point when I had the breakdown in 2014. And I seem to get some feeling that it will be ready. I'll be ready about 2028, August. So it doesn't concern me to go to Britain Yearly Meeting at the moment. I don't feel called to go, and I don't feel called to speak out. But when you invited me, I felt
Mm.
it was right to be here with you.
Well, the wheels within Quakers move very slowly, so I think if we were going to be ready for 2028, we better get started anyway. Um, well, I'm just intrigued by your, I mean, extended meeting for worship is something I absolutely feel the same way. And in some of my earlier conversations with people, I've been saying, at the very least, we should be having 2 hour meetings across the country in the UK right now. We should be having 10 till 12, and at 10 o'clock, we have more some kind of programmed input, whether that's Bible study or singing or reading of some kind. So that there's some kind of shared experience before we move into worship. So that's one of the things that I've been saying. Can you tell me a little bit more about this idea of meetings across the world? Are you envisaging an online blended meeting with large groups of people sharing online with other large groups of people? That's what my That's how I heard what you said.
No, I mean, it's already happening. It's already happening. So in New England, people are meeting in person for extended worship regularly. At a higher meeting, once a month, they meet for extended worship. This group that I'm meeting with today, that's currently online, have been meeting for 25 years. But because it's George Fox's birthday, um, it would be wonderful if the epistle would be shared and individual yearly meetings would decide to do whatever is suitable for them.
I see.
Whether it's they send that epistle around and ask individual meetings or area meetings together once, or they sit for untimed worship at their yearly meeting this year. I personally would love Britain Yearly Meeting to put in a 3 hour space for worship this year in honor of George Fox. But that's just my personal,
Yeah.
as a member of Britain Yearly Meeting, um, I would come to that.
Mhm.
It is a special space. I have been at Yearly Meeting and I've been at two gatherings, one at Bath where Ben Pink Dandelion spoke, and one at Warwick University in 2017.
Yeah, so I mean, I think the word untimed, I think is really important because it's without setting kind of artificial boundaries in advance, isn't it? It's a bit like I'm doing with these interviews, really. I never say these are, going to finish at a certain time because we just don't know what we'll be led to talk about. So I really appreciate what you're saying there about untimed and 3 hours. Human beings do have a kind of a physical capacity, I suppose. We do have to stop eventually, but 3 hours seems right to me. So I would certainly be very happy to read that epistle and to um, discern a way forward in terms of what I speak about. You mentioned just now, that is something in Britain Yearly Meeting that you would be willing to come to and interested to come to. Would you say that you're not involved at all at the moment, then, really, with other Quakers in Britain?
So on a Monday, I meet with Friends in Christ with Ohio Friends online, and they're some of them are Britain Yearly Meeting members,
I
and
see.
they're spread out in the UK. And we recently put an advert in the Friend. I think it came out in the January, one of the two of the January editions, letting others know about our worship, in case they would like to join us
Okay.
if they're feeling isolated.
Okay, so maybe we can put another a link or some kind of information about that in the description to this video as well, so that if this is something that people want to join, um,
I think there's non-theist and other groups, but the fact that we felt the need to put an ad in the Friend shows that um Christ-centered friends, not all of them, but a lot of us are feeling, well, one friend said they feel muted.
mm,
They're not able to minister within the meetings that they attend. So,
I recognize that feeling, but I suppose in recent
I
years,
think meeting for extended worship would help things because at Britain Yearly Meeting level, because things are not very healthy at the moment. And the society will die if it continues in this way. Um, There are a lot of young friends that are Christ-centered. Um, so one of those friends goes to the gatherings and worshipped with me and offered me support last night with regards to this interview.
Mm.
Um, so it's not just older friends that are Christ-centered. There are
No.
lots of young friends that are.
So can you say a bit more about being Christ-centered? And I mean, I was speaking to a friend the other day in one of these interviews, and we were talking about that advice and query, bring the whole of your life under the ordering of the Spirit of Christ. And she was saying to me, I don't get much advice on that. I don't get much guidance on that from my meeting. Like, what does it mean? How do we do that?
So the light within shows us the darkness. So it's quite a painful journey in my experience because it's not outside of myself. It's actually within me. The work to be done is within me to heal myself. And once I am fully healed, um, that's when the real work on the outside can begin. So I've been led to do a lot of work on myself, and I'm doing a lot of work on myself because I've discovered I'm a codependent. And I'm in two 12-step recovery programs because the light has shown me. I thought I was going to be, or I thought I was ready to be a minister. And I left work because I was upset. But actually, God has led me, hold on a minute. You've got all of this to do. Here's this person, here's that person, here's this meeting to go to. Here are these books. Here is a therapist. Here is so for each particular individual, whatever that is going to look different than what my journey has been or what my journey is.
Mm.
Um, but it's very, very humbling, and it makes you very tender.
Yeah.
And then people outside of you, things change on the outside. Um, so people seem to want to be with me. The more that the work is done in me, the more people are curious
Mm.
about it. Um, and in the 12-step fellowship, people talk about higher power, and it can be whatever you need it to be. It can be a bus, an old shoe, a teddy bear. Doesn't matter where you start. But the idea is there's something greater than yourself. And often the most helpful experience of that is in childhood when you were with nature, and you had that experience of wonder. That is the experience of what your higher power is. So it's not really about any words as such. The words are the dogma that we use. And so I think that extended worship could help
Mm.
people connect to that, like it's helped me. I mean, I was fortunate to have the covered meetings at Warwick, and
Mm.
those people to help me say, this is not about me as an individual. And so now what I have is a relationship, and it's with me every day. I have a relationship with a power greater than myself, which I choose to call God. And sometimes that comes in the form of Jesus. Um, and then I try to be obedient to what I'm given. And if I get confused, which happens, I have friends in Ohio I can meet with who understand this way and who will pray with me. Um, whereas I don't have that in Britain Yearly Meeting.
No.
It's just not there. That's just how it is at the moment.
I agree. I think it's not there in a formal, structured way. I think it could be there. I think there are people able to be there for each other in this way, but there's not currently a way in which these things are brought to life and brought together. And I suppose that's partly why I want to do these interviews, because there's a potential here, which at the moment is being hidden and restrained and boxed in some way. And I hear what you're saying about
Yeah, I'd really,
into a tender and humbled position, and that in meetings that are just 1 hour, it's not always a space in which people feel able to minister and then feel muted or silenced. And I feel myself that over the last 10 years or so, I have moved into a position where I do speak. And I'm not quite sure why that is, and I don't feel silenced anymore. Hence, here we are today. And I think partly that's about the structure within yearly meeting. And also perhaps it's about individuals stepping out with courage and speaking anyway.
I think I've got the epistle. Shall I read it out?
Go ahead.
I managed to find it on email. Um, so maybe we can just have some worship and I can pray and then I can read the epistle
Okay,
and then I can email it you as well to put at the end of this YouTube. Would that be okay?
that's great. Yes, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, God. Emmanuel, God with us. Thank you for being present right here, right now. And thank you for your grace in my life. And thank you for the faithfulness of Emma. She's following her gifts and her calling. Thank you for all of the worldwide family of Quakers. I feel I do belong here. I'm really grateful. Thank you to my friends at Warwick meeting and rugby meeting, because I love you all very much. Thank you. Thank you, everybody. Thank you, God. Please bless Britain Yearly Meeting. Please bless our Quaker family and show us how to move forwards. Sunday, first day, 6th of October, 2024. Dear global Quaker family of friends, we, the first Saturday online extended worship group, gathered yesterday as is our usual custom, online on Jitsi from 9:30 for an extended period of worship as led by our Creator Sets Free, Bright Morning Star, Seed Within, I Am That I Am, Mother God, Light of Christ, Eternal Fountain and Spring of Life. After a short break for refreshments and other necessities, it is our custom to meet again for worship sharing. This gives us time to share deeply of the ways we have been moved and changed by the waiting worship. We finished at around 12:15 and typically worship for around 3 hours each first Saturday, as the early friends did in a waiting, unprogrammed worship. We find this way of worship to be life-changing. From the perspective of this deep, open practice, we find the regular meetings around the world that only meet for 1 hour to be more like what early friends called public meeting. This Quaker approach to religion necessitated religious meetings of 3 kinds: those in which preachers call the world to come out of the dark night of apostasy, common or public meetings; smaller meetings of convinced people eager to respond to the formative power of God, retired or silent meetings; and meetings for the transaction of church business. Arnold Lloyd, Quaker's Social History, 1669 to 1738, page 121. There is a difference betwixt friends going into the world and of coming among them that are come to silent meetings, and to feed there. For that which may be suitable to the world may not be to them. George Fox, Epistles, 1698, page 104, in Arnold Lloyd, Quaker Social History, page 121. We have felt called to write this letter to encourage our worldwide friends. Come see, come taste, come and be blessed. You are welcome to join us. If you would like, please email our Jitsi invite distributor at dandyduva@gmail.com. Better still, make this year of celebration of our visionary leader, George Fox, a year to try this experimentally at your local meetings, area, quarter meetings, and yearly meetings. The seed is here, peace is here, love is here, source is here. We know many of you are already doing this, and we thank you for your faithfulness. The world needs us to listen sincerely and be fed by this spring of life in order to heal and transform. Come to these meetings with no other intention than to listen to the seed within, the fountain of life. Don't be overly strict. If you need to walk or lie down or get a cup of tea to help you stay in the worship, please do. You can do this too. You will be glad. You will be changed. Can our yearly meeting gatherings this year, as well as our regional gatherings, put aside 3 hours for an extended waiting worship in honor of our founder, George Fox? We hope so. And from this source, we have received now over the 25 years that we have been meeting to sit down and listen at the feet of the fount of eternal life, so much that has nourished, directed, and fed our souls. We feel called to share one part of a piece of ministry that came through one of us at worship yesterday. A psalm of deep desire. God of heaven, God of earth, God of quark, atom, and molecule, God of planet, star, and galaxy, how can I know you? Surely I know you through the 5, for you in the mountain that I see afar. You are in the babbling brook that I hear in the distance. You are in the taste of unleavened bread. You are in the smell of new mown hay. You are in the feel of a deep massage. But I know, really know, you are more than your indwelling of the material universe. Third eye seeing that when I see you, you are doing the looking. Third ear hearing that when I hear you, you are doing the listening. Love. Love is who I am because that is who you are. Your expanding consciousness is unfolding into the world, in and through that of you in me. You are me and not me. You are in me and beyond me, to know even as I am known. That is my deepest desire. We send our love both for our tiny, small, blue-green planet and for the worldwide creation and for our Quaker family with much joy, love, and peace. We have found the wellspring where we are given the strength to walk cheerfully over this world and be faithful and to grow to be the best channels for healing that we can be. This is good news indeed. Shalom, my friends. May peace be with you. May light be with you. May love be with you. May joy be with you. May you too walk cheerfully over this world hand in hand with Creator Sets Free. The first Saturday Extended Worship Online Group.
Thank you for that, Ruth. It was beautiful. That's a beautiful letter. And
It was by all of us.
Yeah,
It was God-given.
yeah.
And so I'm really grateful, Emma, because I wasn't sure how. And I think this is God's way to share it. And I can email it to you and you can post it underneath
That would be great.
this particular video. Then people can see the words.
Yeah.
I feel really grateful. And I know that my friends will be fine that I shared it. I felt
Well, it's a
it was
letter
right.
to be shared,
I
isn't
felt,
it? Letters are to be shared.
I
And you
felt the
know,
heart beating in my heart was the sign that I
I'm
should
sure,
share it.
I'm sure. And the words at the end, that we have felt the wellspring that allows us to walk cheerfully over the world. And the wellspring is there for everyone. And so many people, I feel, they're not really feeling it. And they're not even, we're not encouraging each other to look for it and walk towards it and be in it. And that's what I really feel that these conversations are talking about and bringing to life. So it's been an absolute pleasure to hear that.
I feel that I've been faithful, so I feel contented
Yeah,
in myself.
yeah. Is there anything else you want to say about what your hopes are for the future in Quakers in Britain? This is where we live. This is where our people are. This is where we can see each other face to face. It's not all about being online, is it?
I think it would be good to bring back the testimony of love. And I've had the honor of meeting friends that have taught me about love. And I think it's really important testimony. I've heard other friends speak of this testimony. And I think it would be good to have that and to focus on that. Um, when I was at Equipping for Ministry, I was on it was 2 year course, and so when I was on the first year, there were second year students on the course at Woodbrook, and I remember a friend, we had to do a project, and her project was to make a quilt with one square for each member of her meeting. And she had so much love for each individual in her meeting. And that was such a big teaching for me, because I'm still finding my way there. Um, so I think that testimony would be very helpful at this time for our society and within Britain Yearly Meeting.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much. It's been a pleasure to get to know you a little bit today. And thank you for that letter, and we'll hopefully meet each other in person at some point. Carry on the
Thanks.
conversation.
Thank you, Emma, for your faithfulness yet again, and for helping maybe voices that haven't been heard to be heard within our yearly meeting. I think it is important work.
Mm.
Yeah.
Thank
See you
you.
again soon.
Yeah, thank you.